I always tell people the most valuable lesson I got from my mentor, Jim Rohn, was I asked my father, worked 2 jobs. We were always broke. We had no money for food. And we lived in a community we moved to, which was, I thought they were all rich and we were on the other side of the tracks. It was a lower middle class, but compared to where we lived before, these people seem rich compared to us. And I just didn't understand it. And Jim said to me, Tony, it's not about the value of your soul, it's about the value of you in the marketplace. And your father's skills are not that valuable. He was an underground parking attendant, and he would take people's ticket and make change. Well, the research now shows, it's being done at Yale, it's being done overseas in England as well, and they found that 40% of all jobs they project in the next 10 years are going to disappear because of technology. It's going to be replaced by an algorithm, it's going to be changed. You know, all these guys on Wall Street, you're seeing all these algorithms take over and they're getting rid of all these traders, right? It's changing radically in these hedge funds. There's 3 million truck drivers. Self-driving cars are here. In the next 5 years, they will be the standard, certainly within 7 or 8 years. Are you gonna hire someone who can only work 8 hours a day and sometimes gets drunk or can make a mistake when you can buy a machine, write down the machine, and be in a position where it works 24 hours a day driving? But no one is telling these drivers this, and they have to retool now. So technology is the biggest challenge. Labor is less valuable because of efficiencies with technology, and it's gonna get better and better for technology, which is scary when you think about what's gonna happen for jobs. So I say to people, you gotta participate in your own rescue. You've got to retool yourself. The idea that Bernie Sanders has of providing free education sounds wonderful, but the education he wants to do is community college. There are no skill sets in community colleges today, for the most part, that are gonna prepare you for the economy or a job that's there. So what is that gonna do? You're just gonna waste more money, more time. We need to retool ourselves. The government's not gonna do it for you. You get on an airplane, what's the first thing they say? If we get into trouble, mask will come down, oxygen's there, and the first thing you gotta do is put it on your kit, right? No, why? Who do they tell you to put it on? Yourself, you selfish bastard. What's the deal here, right? But it's because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't care them. So for leaders, what I always tell them is, it's you first. It starts with you, and it starts with your psychology. 80% of growing a business, if you look at what the chokehold is on a business, it's always the leader, and 80% of that chokehold is the psychology, and 20% is the mechanics. I mean, people in this room know the mechanics and strategies beyond what anybody on earth knows in their category, so it's really about you being in the state where you execute. It's like I always tell people, knowledge is not power, it's total BS. Knowledge is potential power. Execution trumps knowledge every day of the week, and so my life is, how do you get yourself to execute? And execution comes from learning to put yourself in that right state every day. Everything in my world is based on coming up with the outcome that will serve, and then going at it, but most of the time, your approach going at it doesn't work. No one else knows that, but you know, you can see it doesn't work, so it's constantly changing your approach until you can get where you want to go. When I enter an audience and I'm gonna give a talk of any sort, I do a huge amount of homework in advance, I prepare, I see who's there, but then when I stand up here, I wouldn't be sitting like this. I'm scanning constantly, and who I'm looking for, the people think it's bullshit. I'm going after the people who got dragged there. I'm not looking for the people clapping for me. You know, those people will always be there, and there's some people who clap even if you're terrible, so you don't want to let other people's view make you feel good. I'm looking for who isn't there so that I can reach them, so I can show them that there's something real here. Because, you know, most people don't know who I am. They'd see, you know, 10,000 people jumping in a stadium and they go, oh, it's just a big motivational pump up. I've never been a motivator. It's never been what I've been about. I think motivation is useful. It's like a warm bath. You should probably take a bath or a shower every day, but you need more than that. You need strategy. But what I really believe is energy. Most of us grew up, and right now, most of you are learning in the traditional style you did even when you were in school. You were trained to go to your seat and be silent and be polite and nice. But the world we live in today isn't like that. The world today, if somebody sits down and waits for someone to tell them what to do, they're in trouble. So my approach is constantly stimulating and seeing what's real, getting people to be raw, and getting to truth. You know, as corny as it is, the truth sets us free, and we all can find our own truth as long as we put ourselves in an environment where we don't tolerate anything less than that. I really believe in order to influence people, you gotta know what already influences them. The mistake that we make is we don't connect enough to figure out who this person is, and what most of us do is try to lead other people by influencing them the way we'd be influenced. They try to influence their kid to clean the room the way that would make you do it. But even though they're your kid, they're different than you. And so they're gonna do it for a different set of reasons than what you would do it for. You might have done it because someone told you to, but your kid's gonna tell them all day long, that's not it. There has to be something else. It's a sense of freedom they get from it, or a sense of mastery, something that's gonna move them. So I always say there are two things that influence everyone. If you wanna be a leader, you have to know how to change other people's states. A person is in a no state, a person's in an angry state, a person's in a frustrated state. You have to be able to influence their state, because if you change their state, you're going to change the result they get. But the second thing you have to understand is, what are people's blueprints? Blueprints, my shorthand for what are their values? What do they believe? What do they fear? I always say to people that life is found in the dance between what you desire most and what you fear most. If I want to lead you and support you, I got to know your goals, your desires. I got to know what you're scared about, what you're fearful about, what stresses you out. And if I understand that, I can communicate in a way that'll inspire you to maximize, not only when I'm here, that's management. Leadership is I'm gone and you've raised your own standard and you're going to continue to perform at a higher level. How to do something is the wrong sequence to start with. Like, what's the strategy for being fit and healthy? It's not that complex, and yet 70% of the US is overweight. Like,
you just have to do it.
It's not a strategy problem. What it is why aren't they doing it? It's because they have a story. And everyone does this. Entrepreneurs, business people, everyone does this. When we get fearful, when we've tried something and we're not succeeding as fast as we want, when we are afraid of failing, we come up with a story about how it's not our fault or how we're going to do it in the future, because then we don't have to feel bad. Feeling bad makes us have to deal with it. Most people are overwhelmed, so they come up with a story about, I tried everything. If you tried everything, you'd be fit. You'd be healthy. Yeah. I tried millions of things. Millions, name them. 3 things they did 50 times that don't work, right? But I think if you can come up, when you change the story, when you come up with a new set of beliefs, you'll find yourself finding the strategy or using the strategies that already work, that are there, that right now your mind says, oh, it won't work. And the best way to change people, you got strategy, story, is state. And I always share this with business owners. You've got to be able to produce a different state in your people. There has to be something compelling. There has to be a sense of mission. Well, we have all the social media data, which we use big data to take a look at, but I also look at it individually because there's nuances that you pick up in that way. So I feed that, look at that. But my biggest piece is watching the audience, and then, every day of my life, I get feedback. I'm walking down the street, a dozen people come and tell me these beautiful stories, how their life has changed. And very much like she shared earlier, they'll give me way too much credit. So I always straighten them out and go, look, you did this, I'm glad I got to help. And I try to keep that balance with everybody. But my measurement is both emotional state impact as well as execution. Did they lose 20 pounds? Did they go turn their business around? My business is organized around, I really want to help people improve all the qualities, areas of their life, but there's about 7 that matter the most. It's your body, it's your emotions, it's your relationships, it's the way you manage time, it's finances, it's your work, and it's the spiritual side of life. And so what I spent my life doing is modeling people that are the best in the world. You find a couple who've been together for 65 years in their 80s, late 80s, and they're still making love and passionate, not just hanging out. They're not lucky, they're doing something different. So I'm constantly finding those patterns so that hopefully I can compress decades into days. I can learn from those decades of life experience, save it, bring the answer here to myself and others, and see a measurable impact. These thoughts that we have, we think they're our thoughts, so it makes it really hard to change them. And people meditate and try to not think thoughts. Show me somebody that's done that successfully, consistently. They're full of shit. Everybody, the mind thinks thoughts. But here's the distinction. If I told you 100 years ago we're going to fly to the moon and back, you would have called me a lunatic. That's where the term comes from. And people still use it, and it doesn't make any sense, because a lunatic is somebody who thought we'd go to the moon and back and we've done it, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where the term comes from. That's where it comes from. But if I would have told you 100 years ago that there's going to be a box in your pocket, and you're going to pull this thing out, you're going to hit a couple buttons, and then it's going to capture invisible waves that are drifting around the earth and bring the waves in, and you're going to see somebody on the other side of the earth and you're going to talk to them, you're totally nuts. Thoughts are those invisible waves. And when you use your body in a certain way, if I sit like this, I'm going to tap into a different channel of those waves than if I'm sitting like this. Kind of like a TV set. If I turn one channel, it might be a comedy channel. I'm going to see a lot of laughter. Turn another one, it's a horror channel. Turn another channel, it's a romance channel. This is what changes which of those waves you touch in. So if you can start to realize that your thoughts that you think are your thoughts, there's nothing unique about your thoughts. They've been around for thousands of years. You're just tapping into them because of what you're doing with your body that makes you either fearful or passionate or courageous or whatever you're feeling. As you go in those states, you get different thoughts. So what I want people to see is that learn how to just see those thoughts go by. Learn how to be entertained by those thoughts. Because I have crazy thoughts, but what I've gotten good at is going, look at that crazy thought. That's not me, that's the mind, not your mind. Because if it's you, how do you change you? Pretty hard. But I really truly know I haven't heard a thought come out of you that's original. You call them your thoughts, but they're not. You've stolen them. They've been around forever. When you see that, it's easier to let go of them. And letting go of those thoughts is one of the ways that you free yourself. And again, the more you do it, just like a muscle, you get better and better and better. And all of a sudden, the shit that used to make you crazy or stressed out, how many things have you worried about that never came to be?